the impact of discrimination is vast, which makes it very unfortunate that these things are continuing. So I've had these mirrored here, these two different responses, one to a hate crime and one to a general trauma response, because I truly feel that if you were to being discriminated against, you are likely to experience trauma, and you're likely to act as though you have experienced a trauma, which is really, really damaging and problematic. So if you look at the common symptoms of a victim of a hate crime, one are these sort of internal events like feeling anxiety, depression, and stress increase, having these very intrusive thoughts, often worry thoughts, fear thoughts. But it can also impact how you work. So difficulty concentrating and focusing on what's in front of you. You might really feel dysregulated, meaning feeling anger, and needing to retaliate in some way, which is going to be problematic for you too. You could feel very exhausted and not really understand why, if you're not aware that you're having a trauma response. But also it can affect how you relate to other people. So if you are really fearful, like, when is this going to happen to me again? You might feel very distrustful of other people, and like you can't trust that people are going to keep you safe or not hurt you. You might fear that like you are just personally more vulnerable to these things. And ultimately you just have difficulty coping with being a victim. And when some things are not going right with ourselves, it impacts our relationships with other people. And so if things aren't going right with you, you might have difficulties in relating to other people in your life, even if those people are trying to help you. Similar to a trauma that we might see in, say, a veteran or a victim of sexual assault. Like, these things look very similar, and you can see them mirrored here. Further, you don't actually have to experience the event directly to experience the symptoms as if you had experienced it directly. So you can still have a trauma response if you are just witnessing the event happen to someone you love or someone who looks like you, or seeing those things in the news. And so that's where we have to be careful. We want to stay informed, but at the same time, we don't want to experience this response. And you might similarly have a fear like, well, if that person that's like me is being attacked, when will I be attacked? And sometimes that just ambiguity and uncertainty can be really uncomfortable and painful as well. And you might feel like, I really need to hide right now. I need to hide who I am. And that can come in the form of disengagement, disidentification, or compensating behaviorally. So you might disengage from what has happened so that you don't have to take those hits to your well-being. You might disidentify with how important things like cultural identity might be to you or your community, so that you don't become a victim as well. And you might compensate to really not fit into those stereotypes. So I know, for example, for me, I want to wear a mask in public. I really want to wear a mask in public to protect myself and my family. But I know, as an Asian person, when I put a mask on, because wearing masks as a civilian in this country is just not as seen as okay and is not as common, I feel very stigmatized and identified. And I feel like my Asian identity is putting a target on my back. It's just how I feel, whether it's true or not, that's my feeling. And in that way, it can be seen as sort of a secondary trauma response.